Welcome, Crypto Fam, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. On today's show, tariff wars in North America averted in the 11th hour. Also, buying and holding Bitcoin is the best strategy to navigate the Trump tariff war. Also on today's show, Powell's crypto turn, how the Fed and institutions back Bitcoin now. And our feature story of the day, Trump to create U.S. sovereign wealth fund. Could it lead to a strategic Bitcoin reserve? All this and so much more on today's show. Welcome, folks, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. Today is February 3rd, 2025, and days after announcing a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico, President Donald Trump agreed to delay them for 1 month after leaders from Canada and Mexico announced moves to ramp up security at their borders, averting, at least for now, tariffs that could have driven up prices for U.S. consumers and literally stalled the Mexican and Canadian economies. Earlier today, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wrote on social media that Canada would be spending $1.3 million on a plan to reinforce the border with new helicopters, technology, and personnel, as well as additional resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Canada had announced this $1.3 billion border immigration investment at the end of last year, but they also agreed to do a little bit more to ensure that there's no illegal crossings and illegal fentanyl. And earlier this morning, the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum posted on her social media that Mexico will immediately reinforce its northern border with 10,000 members of the country's National Guard to address drug trafficking from Mexico into U.S., particularly fentanyl, and of course the illegal crossings. So, interesting. This probably could have been completely avoided if both countries' presidents and prime ministers just tried to negotiate this beforehand. But they had to wait for the 11th hour, as the saying goes, or I suppose the 23rd hour and 59th minute. So how did crypto markets take this? So yesterday, when we were on the show a little late, the entire day crypto was dumping, and it was down about 8% on the Bitcoin, and many of the cryptos were down 25% for the day. So now moving into our Bitcoin market watch and technical analysis, we will see that it's the complete opposite today. So hopefully you guys got in there and bought the dip as I was suggesting. I'm right once in a while, and I guess when I'm right, I've got to gloat. But, it's just a smart thing to have done in any kind of investment, guys, when it comes to financial literacy. When things go down, most people are freaking out, sell, sell, sell. What the smart people and the whales are doing is they're thinking, wow, this is on sale now, so I'm going to buy it. That's what the smart money does. I guarantee the whales picked up a big dip yesterday. So currently Bitcoin is up 9% to 101,300. We have almost most of the gains, most of the losses from yesterday already recouped here. Ethereum up 18%, currently to $2,850. Solana at $218, up 18%. XRP up an impressive 37% to $2.76. Doge up 27% to 28 cents. Shiba up also 27%. So we didn't really gain all our losses back, but certainly things will continue to trend up here, I believe. And there was a bit of a late announcement from Trump as well about Bitcoin, which is one of our stories a little later on. We'll get into it. Let's get right into our crypto bubbles. So the same way we saw yesterday that almost the same size bubbles existed everywhere, but they were all red. Now today we're seeing they're also all almost the same size bubbles. But if you look at the percentages today, we've got XCN, I would call it the biggest gainer, along with XDC. XCN 56%, XDC 62%, XRP 40%. Excuse me. Doge 27%, SUI 30%, Ondo 35%. Even the Trump coin 13%, Algorand 26%. Every single thing on the board is in the green, and everything that I can see here is up at least 15%. Even Ethereum up 16%. I don't see Bitcoin here because it's generally not one of the biggest gainers. It's the most reliable. There's Bitcoin up 8%, the smaller bubble. But it also lost the smallest amount yesterday. It was down 8%. Now it's up 8%. I really think it was 2 days of losses that we had to endure for this, tariff fear. So we'll see how the next couple days go. Hopefully we can recoup all the losses, and the people who bought the dip are then really looking good. Let's zoom out to the weekly, and we still see that almost everything's in the red for the week. There's only a few outliers. We've got Trump coin, the biggest loser, 35% down, and really we only have one decent gainer, and that would be OM at 34% up. Otherwise everything in the red for the week. And if we zoom out even more to the monthly, we have the XCN coin, which is currently up 60% today. It was 1,000% for the month, but a lot of players down for the month. Jasmy 35%, Floki 50%, Fartcoin 41%, Shiba 32%, Pepe 50%, Pengu 67%, Neo 25%, you name it. WIF 60%. A lot of things down, but let's get positive here for a little bit. Hopefully you guys listen to the show often, and you are long-term hodlers. So if we zoom out to the yearly, I think that we're going to see some real gains. So let's try and stay optimistic with that. Doge up 260%, Virtual 2,700%, SPX 55,000%. Missed out on that one. XCN 2,300%, Pepe 1,000%. Ondo 500, OM 3,900, WIF 300, XRP 450%. So not bad for the month. Let's try and focus on that right now, and hopefully in the near term we can get some good gains and open up February and get through the midway point and have some big gains, and hopefully it continues on through the end of the month. Let's move on to our market cap by crypto here. We've got Bitcoin leading the pack as always at a 2 trillion market cap even. Ethereum 342 billion, XRP 160 billion, Solana 106 billion, Doge 42 billion, Cardano 28 billion, Tron 19.5 billion to wrap up the top 10. You notice I skipped by the stable coins, Tether, BNB, USDC. We know they're there. The market cap's always quite substantial. Tether seems to always be in this number 4 position. I think it flipped once with Solana. XRP flipped it a long time ago. Otherwise, these stablecoins really are just staying in their positions, and we don't need to really talk about them because they don't really go up and down. BNB is the Binance coin. A lot of people own it, but ultimately I think it's just used as a trading tool the same way that a lot of people need to trade in USDT, Tether, and a lot of these cryptos. You can't just buy it with, US dollar or Ethereum or Doge. You have to actually convert first to USDT, and then they'll sell it to you. So I think in the BNB exchange, a lot of the coins, it works the same way. You can trade it directly with BNB coins. So I think a lot of the volume is based on that. Let's get into our crypto total market dominance here. We've got 3.3 trillion, a total market cap. Bitcoin showing a 61% dominance total market cap in the entire market. Ethereum still in the 4s, dropping 10.45% of the total market cap. XRP up very close to 5% again at 4.88. Solana at 3.25%. Going into our crypto fear and greed index, here we have today a 72 in greed. Yesterday was a 44 in neutral and 72 in greed last week. I always mention that when we get into neutral or fear, that we could expect a pump, and when we get into extreme greed, we can expect a pullback. Now, this neutral yesterday had a lot to do with the tariffs, but you see, one day in neutral and right away back to 72 in greed. We currently have 1,072 days approximately left until the next Bitcoin halving in 2028. There are 167,788 Bitcoin left to mine until that time, and until the 2140, where the last Bitcoin is mined, we have 1,180,588 Bitcoin left to mine. Getting into our total market cap by public companies, which also we're including commodities. We have gold at 19.1 trillion, Apple 3.4 trillion, Microsoft 3 trillion, Nvidia 2.8, Amazon number 5 2.5 trillion, Google 2.47 trillion, Bitcoin 2.016 trillion, silver at 1.8, Saudi Aramco at 1.78, Facebook at 1.76, getting close to the market cap of Saudi, right above it at number 9, and Tesla dropping a bit to currently 1.234. It's been sitting around 1.3 trillion for quite some time, but you see the stock took a fairly big dip, 5% today. And right now you can get 975 Satoshis for one fiat US dollar, and as expected, it didn't last long where you could get more than 1,000 Satoshis per dollar just a day on my account. And the US debt clock, we have gone up 4 trillion exactly on the number from yesterday this time, and currently at 36 trillion 435 billion, which equals to 107,098 bucks per US citizen, and that is $323,046 per US taxpayer. So me, for one, am super stoked about the last hour agreement with Canada and Mexico. Definitely there would have been there were some very unhappy people, including me. I mean, I still had confidence. I bought the dip. I knew that eventually people would start putting their money in Bitcoin because it's more stable. I figured that people would start dumping their cash, putting it into Bitcoin, putting it into gold, And that's pretty much what we saw. The market cap of gold was up, it looks like, 500 billion yesterday. And market cap of crypto also up. So, when it comes time to deal with these tariff situations or political turmoil, we want to probably look at safe havens, and Bitcoin is one of the best ways to hedge against this kind of political instability, which leads us into our first topic of the day here. Buying and holding Bitcoin is the best strategy to navigate the Trump tariff war. Bitcoin is the safest asset you can own today. Today, Wall Street Journal published an article attempting to discredit Bitcoin amidst the recent U.S., Canada, and Mexico tariff trade war because Bitcoin's price has gone down in the wake of the news. Bitcoin, touted as a borderless digital store of value, is down more than 4% over the last 24 hours after the White House instigated cross-border tariffs, the article stated. Cryptocurrencies were once promoted as investments that act independently of stocks, but in fact, their moves often resemble outsized versions of broader market swings. I recently can agree with that for sure. It definitely follows the traditional crypto financial market more than it used to. In the second sentence cited above, the Wall Street Journal attempts to diminish Bitcoin's value proposition by pointing out that Bitcoin's price is just correlated with other traditional assets. What the author of the article doesn't share, though, is that Bitcoin's price is going to go up, down, much more than traditional assets because it's incredibly liquid and it's easy to buy and sell. But Bitcoin is a distributed network made of miners, nodes, developers, and users on a technical level. It is quite different from other assets like stocks as it has no central party controlling it. 100% agree with that. Because of this, Bitcoin has been a safe haven for those trying to navigate geopolitical fears. No one can just print more Bitcoin out of thin air and inflate the supply, enforce any unwanted network changes overnight, or overthrow and stop the network from running. But don't just take my word for it. Take Larry Finks, the CEO of the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock. Just a couple of weeks ago, Finks said that he is a true believer in Bitcoin's value proposition and that if you're frightened of the geopolitical fears in your country, you can now have an institutional-based asset that operates completely independently from those tensions. Yeah, baby. Sure, Bitcoin's price will respond to news and events happening in the short term, causing large price actions to the upside or downside, but cherry-picking data in an attempt to make Bitcoin look like it's a bad investment is just bad reporting and misleading. Bitcoin has been the best performing asset for the last 15 years and will likely continue to perform well due to its value proposition. The important point to understand here is that while Bitcoin is a volatile asset reacting to daily events, over the long term, Bitcoin's value proposition is what keeps its price higher and higher. For the first time in history, we have money that cannot be hyperinflated. Bitcoin also allows people to transact across borders freely without permission, giving users an escape hatch for anyone whose country is attempting to control them financially. Forget short-term price when it comes to Bitcoin as a tool to help navigate geopolitical tensions. Over the long term, Bitcoin supply and demand will take the price higher than it is today. Mainstream media articles on Bitcoin have always missed the bigger picture and end up misleading the people who read them. As geopolitical tensions increase, Bitcoin is the safest asset you can own. Yeah. I agree definitely with the article and less than the Wall Street Journal. Now, it clarifies that, yes, there's definitely a correlation between financial markets and Bitcoin, but it's more volatile and there are other factors involved, like the nodes, like the crypto mining, like the computer programming that's all behind it, that's ongoing and used 24 hours a day all around the world. The typical traditional financial market definitely doesn't have anything like that. So this is why a lot of the leaders around the world and the countries around the world are starting to look at Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. And just today we have Donald Trump to create a U.S. sovereign wealth fund, which could lead it to a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Other similar government-owned funds have invested in Bitcoin and crypto-related projects. So will this one do it too? President Donald Trump signed an executive order Monday calling for the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund, and Bitcoin investors are already seeing gold. Following Trump's announcement, he's now ordered the U.S. government to create a sovereign wealth fund within the next 12 months. Bitcoin advocates leapt with enthusiasm, taking the news as a signal that the U.S. is taking active steps toward investing directly in the world's top cryptocurrency. Most notably, Senator Cynthia Lummis, a prominent Bitcoin advocate, referenced Bitcoin when she reacted to the news. "This is a big deal," she posted on X, making use of the Bitcoin B symbol and sending crypto enthusiasts into a euphoric tizzy. BTC is up 4% on the day to 102,000 at the time of writing. So, amazing news. This is Trump at Bitcoin Nashville, where he was the headliner. He spoke on the last day, and they presented him with an honorary Bitcoin, full Bitcoin, which actually was a cold wallet that looked like a Bitcoin too. You know, the way these fake coins. I've got a couple fake coins, and I came home with, it was like 3 for $11 or something on Amazon, and the package arrived, and I was going to take one for me, one for my wife, one for my kid, and I handed it to my wife, and of course, this is a few years ago. She didn't know anything about Bitcoin. She said, "You bought me a Bitcoin?" And I just broke down laughing. I couldn't hold my laughter. But she didn't know it was only worth $3. But the one they handed to Trump was actually a digital Bitcoin and a cold storage wallet that looked like a Bitcoin too. So pretty cool. Definitely not like the one I have. That's the three for $12 on Amazon. They are beautiful, but they're basically worthless. They're just decoration. So not only is the U.S. president looking bullish when it comes to crypto and Bitcoin, and he's created a strategic reserve now. Didn't name Bitcoin. He named a sovereign wealth fund, right? But this is a lot of the countries have sovereign wealth funds that they also invest in Bitcoin. So again, Cynthia Lummis loved the news. Bitcoin enthusiasts were euphoric by the sounds of it. But not only is Trump looking positive for Bitcoin and the crypto community, we also have people that have turned a complete 180, like the U.S. Feds, and currently Powell, crypto turn, how the Fed and institutions back Bitcoin all of a sudden. Following its January 28, 29 meeting, the Federal Reserve kept interest rates unchanged, stating that it would wait for more substantial progress on inflation before considering any further cuts. However, what caught markets by surprise was Fed Chair Jerome Powell's unexpectedly positive comments on crypto, his most accommodating stance on digital assets to date. Editor's note. This article was written prior to the U.S. government reaching a tentative deal with Mexico's government to, at the very least, suspend implementation of tariffs for 1 month. You can read about it in this development. Yeah, okay, I thought it was going to talk about how editor's note warning because the price dropped. But again, it was a temporary price drop because of the tariffs. So if we look here, we're still up 7.5% for the day. Let's get back to the story. Although Powell didn't endorse crypto outright, his acknowledgement of its role in the financial system represented a major shift from previous skepticism. As we at outset PR observed, Powell's shift reflects a broader trend, not just a regulatory acceptance, but also a fundamental change in how traditional financial investment institutions perceive digital assets. This meeting was also the first since President Trump returned to office, having clearly stated his desire to lower interest rates. While the Fed has historically operated independently of the White House, Trump has openly challenged its authority. I think I know interest rates much better than they do, and I think I know it's certainly much better than the ones primary in charge of making the decision. Hoo-hoo! I didn't hear that before. He laid right into him, didn't he? That's Trump laying into Powell. Despite this potential for conflict, Powell has been deliberate in maintaining the Fed's independence, refusing to engage in Trump's rhetoric on interest rates. When asked in November whether he would resign if Trump requested it, Powell responded with a firm no, adding that demoting Fed officials from their governorships is not permitted under the law. Fed opens doors to crypto banking. Powell's crypto-related remarks were particularly noteworthy as he directed the states that U.S. banks are allowed to serve crypto clients provided they manage the associated risk appropriately. Yeah, a story we broke here. Our role with the Bitcoin really is to look at it. With crypto, it is really to look at the banks. We think banks are perfectly able to serve crypto customers as long as they understand and can manage the risks, and it's safe and sound. A good number of the banks that we regulate and supervise do that. He also clarified that while the regulatory threshold for banks engaging in crypto remains high, the Fed is not opposed to innovation. If you're making a choice to conduct that activity inside a bank, which is inside the federal safety net with deposit insurance, then you want to be pretty sure that it's safe and sound activity. So we're not against innovation, and we certainly don't want to take actions that would cause banks to terminate customers who are perfectly legal just because excess risk aversion may be related to regulation and supervision. This triggered a BTC price spike to 105,000 before leveling out, driven by fresh confidence in Bitcoin as a financial superpower. It also contrasts sharply with Powell's previous wariness toward crypto. As recently as March 2023, Powell described the crypto space as one riddled with a lot of turmoil, fraud, and lots of things like that. We debunked that when, we on this show we looked at the scams from last year, and there was $3 billion in crypto in 2024 in scams, and there was 1.03 billion in the traditional fiat cash. So there was a 3 billion in crypto, 1.03 billion in 1 trillion and 3 billion in fiat. So $1 trillion more dollars in fiat was scammed last year than it was in crypto. However, Bitcoin experienced a notable drop following President Trump's announcement of a 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, highlighting its similarity to traditional assets as it reacts to macroeconomic shocks in much the same way as an emerging macro asset, it naturally experiences volatility during periods of economic uncertainty. What is also apparent is that Bitcoin's perceived risk level has greatly diminished in the eyes of regulators, as they increasingly see it as an asset that can integrate peacefully into the existing financial framework. Institutional boom positions Bitcoin as a macro hedge. Let's continue on with this. While past cycles were dominated by retail speculation, the current cycle is seeing a record institutional inflows, $16.6 billion in Bitcoin ETFs alone in Q4 of 2024, bringing total assets under management past the $105 billion mark, according to the latest Coinbase and Glassnode analysis. This level of institutional adoption is staggering, considering that gold ETFs took nearly 5 years to reach a similar assets under management milestone. Furthermore, open interest in Bitcoin derivatives increased by 60% in Q4, nearly to $100 billion. Spot and derivative trading volume surpassed $3 trillion per month in the last 2 months of 2024, the first time this threshold was crossed. A significant portion of Bitcoin demand stems from investors hedging against excessive government debt and fiat currency risk, according to the latest Congressional Budget Office. So, Senor Powell basically is saying, we're okay with crypto. As long as the banks take the risk, we're okay with crypto. We're okay with Bitcoin. And he's okay with the banks taking the risk because there's no fear of Bitcoin going to zero as there was for a number of years. People would be stay away from Bitcoin, stay away. It's going to go to zero. That's what people were saying. Stay away. It's used for money laundering and scams, and all this stuff's been debunked. And now even the feds are saying, if you want to hold crypto, if the banks want to let you hold crypto, if the banks are holding crypto for you, let them hold crypto. So, interesting turnaround. And now that the tariff scare and the, North American trade wars is over, at least for 30 days, and I fully expect that Canada and Mexico are going to do everything they said they were going to do in terms of shoring up the border on both sides and not allowing, scrutinizing anybody trying to cross. They also said on the Canadian side that they are going to look for anybody affiliated with these gangs and with these terrorist groups, and they're going to stop these guys. They also said that they're going to be putting 10,000 people at the border, just like Mexico said. So I'm glad this is, at least over for a bit, and hopefully everybody just gets along. And I think that is ultimately the best for Bitcoin, and that is good for economies in North America and economies around the world. Hopefully, we talked a little bit about finance today, as we always do, and hopefully everybody learned a tiny bit. And as we always say, that finance and money is abundant and everywhere. There are $700 trillion in assets around the world. It is time, what is scarce. So spend your time wisely, spend less money than what you earn, and that way you stay above the curve at all times. And if you suddenly make more money, save more money. Don't start spending more money, and start saving when you're young. Start when you're 16, start when you're 20, and you can retire hopefully when you're 40, 45. And if you've got a great idea, I say this every day, start that idea today. Don't wait around, start, and things will slowly come together for you. My hope is that you found this stream enjoyable. If you did, please share, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on tomorrow's stream, folks. Thanks for joining, and have a great night.